On the Spot, National Film Board's up-to-the-minute report on what's going on somewhere in Canada. This week and every week, NFB camera crews are on the spot where things are happening, recording the varied and colorful life of Canadians. Tonight we invite you to join a Film Board crew with Fred Davis on another location.
Hold on a second, will you, Mighty? Don't move the horse. Oh, I want a low angle. Bring him over this way, will you, please? Bring him over this way a bit more.
This is Fred Davis speaking to you from Ottawa. In today's On the Spot assignment, we're going to cover some of the various phases of photography. And photographing a Mountie on Parliament Hill is one of the popular pastimes of tourists who come to this part of the country. Apparently, it doesn't matter what the season is.
All right, we're ready. Get up there. All right, that's it. Don't move. Yeah, will you smile a bit, please? A little bit of a smile. That's it. Keep the horse steady. Ready? That's it.
The amateur photographer today is as familiar with camera techniques as that of many professionals. There's still the youngster starting out with his box brownie, but perhaps it won't be long before he's in the class of this chap.
That's it. Now, hold on. I want another one.
And there's even third dimension, or 3D. With so many people interested in photography, the photographic supply business has reached a point where millions of dollars is being spent all over the continent on equipment. The amateur takes his work pretty seriously, not only for outdoor work, but many of them have quite a wide array of equipment for shooting indoors.
Okay, girls, we're just about ready. I'll get you in focus here a little bit better. Julie, will you just sit up a little bit? Sit up a little bit straighter. That's it. Okay. You look this way too, James. Give us a nice big smile now, eh? Okay.
Larry, I noticed you used a flash type of light for that picture. Is that the same as a flash bulb?
No, it's called a strobe. It does flash, but you use the same bulb over and over again. Saves you the trouble of screwing new ones in. Cost me $100.
100? Well, that must be a good one. Why did you have to use all the other lights here along with the flash, then?
Well, I wanted to get a good effect for this shot. I wanted to use the floodlights for the background and the strobe light for the highlights. I'm coming down to the darkroom to develop these now. Come on along.
Oh, you run along, dear. I want to show Fred some other photos of the children.
Well, okay, but come on down soon. I want to show him a new and larger.
Okay.
Let's see, I wonder if I gave these enough light for normal development. Yes, I think I did. I think those are going to turn out all right.
Darkroom equipment is another part of the amateur's hobby. Processing their own photos is a must for many of them, and there's a considerable investment in this equipment. Developing the photos is only one part. Enlargers and printers are of the latest design. He spends many hours in darkness, as one tiny sliver of light can ruin all his work.
Oh, and here's one of Janice's kindergarten class at their Christmas party.
Oh, that's very nice.
And Julie up at the lake.
Mm-hmm.
And Janice and Julie in the bathtub.
Well, that's quite good. Say, don't you think we should be seeing Larry down in the dark room? He wanted to see that, he wanted to show us the new enlarger.
Well, I guess so. I can show you these ones later.
Okay.
And you really must see the pictures we took last summer on our camping trip. They're simply beautiful.
Oh, shut the door!
Oh, dear, I'll never hear the end of that. Let's go back upstairs.
Oh, light struck me.
Well, we've seen something of the serious amateur. Perhaps it would be a good time for us to leave to investigate some of the other phases of photography. Commercially and scientifically, photography is put to many uses. So now we'll see some of them.
Fine, Oscar.
Many magazines use photographs to tell their stories, and personalities, such as Oscar Peterson here, the internationally famous jazz pianist, provide excellent material for photo stories. The story photographer must have a keen sense of editorial knowledge, and Louis Jacques has wide experience in this field. Right now, he's shooting a photo story for a weekend picture magazine. Louis, in shooting a story of this type, how many pictures would you take?
Oh, hundreds, Fred. I cull it down to 50 or 60, and the photo editor makes his layout from those.
I see. And what other subject would you use in addition to personality?
Oh, we do sports, children, fashion features, documentaries, nearly anything under the sun, I guess.
That should keep you on the move all the time.
Sure it is.
While you're setting up for the next shot, Louis, I'd like to have a few words with Oscar.
All right, don't take too long, eh?
Okay. Oscar, it must be a pretty nice feeling to be back home again in Montreal after your traveling. How long have you been away on this tour?
Well, this last tour kept me away for 4 months, Fred. However, I haven't played in Montreal professionally ever since 1949.
See, that must be difficult for family life. Oscar, in your trips to Europe, how do you feel about carrying your music to that part of the world?
Well, I find the European audiences are wonderful in that they consider jazz as part of the American and Canadian culture. And they now have better and more facilities for listening to not only records, but current jazz artists, both Dixieland and modern. And it's becoming quite a big thing over there.
Well, that must be gratifying to play to audiences like that.
Excuse me, Fred. I'm all ready to shoot again now, if you don't mind.
Okay, Louis.
All set, Oscar? Now, in this shot, everybody, the whole family, everybody, Gay, Sharon, all look at the little baby. Gently now, Oscar. That's fine. Oh, good. That's very nice. Lift him up now. That's the boy. Gently does it.
Newspaper photographers lead a hectic life. Often they're called at a moment's notice to cover anything from a national disaster to a local news happening. Here at a prominent social event, the photographers have persuaded some of the charming guests at the dance to pose for group pictures. Naturally, most of the pictures taken by these news photographers end up in the papers, but sometimes news photos are used in television. Now we'll see the operation involved in this medium. A series of still photographs have been taken for a television program. A special camera photographs the picture in such a way as to create an illusion of movement. For example, by zooming or moving the camera away from the photo, it will appear as though you are moving away from the scene. Then again, actual photographs are used extensively in magazine advertising, and that's where the commercial photographer comes in. Warren, is there any great difference between taking pictures of merchandise and photographing people?
Yes, there is, Fred, as a matter of fact. This particular photograph I'm taking now is to appear in a very high-class magazine ad. Mm-hmm. So my problem is to make a saleable picture with a nice compositional arrangement to it that will help to sell the advertiser's product. In this case, lipstick and shampoo. I've noticed in magazine advertising that live models are used a lot. Do you do that sort of work, too? Yes, as a matter of fact, Fred, we do. The next fashion shot I'm going to take will be a live fashion photograph. Hello, girls.
Hi.
Cold out, eh?
Certainly is.
Well, as soon as you gals thaw out, we'll be ready for you on the set.
Okay.
Are those the girls you're using in this next shot?
These are the two girls, Fred, and this is the set over here.
Oh, yes. When it comes to fashion photography, these studio scenes are often a direct contrast to the outside weather. For example, in winter, they're preparing an advertising campaign for beachwear. And when summertime rolls round, it's just the opposite, winter backgrounds and fur coats. Commercial photographers also do a good deal of their work outside the studio, in stores, industrial plants, and so on. However, their studio work is something similar to that done by a portrait photographer. And right now we're going to visit one of the world's foremost portrait photographers who has a studio here in Ottawa. Yousuf Karsh has photographed practically everyone of prominence throughout the world. Kings, queens, statesmen, church leaders, people in the worlds of science, arts, and letters. In essence, his photographic collection provides a history of our times. Mr. Karsh, could you describe in words any of the special techniques that you use, or are they professional secrets?
There are no secrets in photography. As for technique, I feel that it is possible for every photographer to acquire them. But we must also learn to control them and master them.
Well, what about these very significant expressions you manage to attain in your photography? How do you get the subject to relax in that kind of a mood?
Well, that, of course, is what we hope for all the time. You must have thorough understanding and sympathy with the subject you're photographing.
the result of much research, so you can talk to them about subject that is near to their heart. And ultimately, we hope, in one single picture, to get a consummation of what that person stands for. For instance, this portrait of Eleanor Roosevelt.
Oh, yes.
Eleanor Roosevelt uses her hands very eloquently and expressively. This photograph was taken after an arrested motion. And you have observed that they are subservient to her. As for her expression, this has often been referred to as a triumphant and prophetic photograph, for this lady has come in very much to her own. As for her consummation of a personality, she looks intelligent, expresses ability, at the same time great deal of charm. But other characteristics may be observed in my other work.
Do you find that photographing movie stars makes your work any simpler?
Not necessarily. You see, most Hollywood actresses have a preconceived idea as to what they would like to look like. Consequently, the photographer must try to make them forget their preconceived idea before he starts shooting.
Well, in working with all these famous people, I imagine you've had many interesting conversations. Can you recall offhand any anecdotes about them?
Why, yes. George Bernard Shaw, for instance, in spite of the fact that he believed in the authenticity of photography and that this photograph was his favorite portrait, he still was able to convince me that the best likeness he had ever seen of himself was that when he looked at a mirror.
That's a typical Shaw remark. Have you photographed any prominent Canadians recently, Mr. Karsh?
Well, as a matter of fact, I expect a visit from our Prime Minister, Monsieur Saint Laurent. He should be here any minute.
Mr. Karsh has explained the importance of getting his subject in the proper mood when he's taking their photograph, but many times conversation plays an important part in reaching this mood. Now we're going to see his techniques as he photographs Prime Minister Saint Laurent.
Mr. Prime Minister, if the 20th century is for Canada, what role does Canada seek to play in the world?
Well, Canada seeks to do its part to keep the world at peace, because we all recognize that it is only in a peaceful atmosphere in the world that the normal development of Canada can take place. And moreover, we do feel that the spirit of brotherhood requires us to assist our brothers in attaining the realization of that promise of the first Christmas morning, peace on earth to men of goodwill.
If you will lean forward slightly, sir, I would like you to dominate this scene, for I want to recapture a mood I saw you a few seconds ago.
Well, here we've been privileged in actually seeing a great photographer of our time, Yousuf Karsh, creating an appropriate mood as he works with a prominent world figure. So apparently there are no limitations to those who enter this amazing world of photography, either professionally or as an amateur. Now, this is Fred Davis, speaking to you from Ottawa, inviting you to join us again next week at this time for another on-the-spot Canadian story.